Welcome back, everyone, for the 7th edition of the Bourbon Judge. Today, we're going to go ahead and review Woodford Reserve, the Masters Collection, right? So Woodford Reserve comes from the Brown-Forman family. So when you think of Brown-Forman and all the different brands, number one, they make several different types of spirits. Vodka, tequila, and even within those sub-brands or sub-different spirits, they make different brands, right? Same with bourbon. They make a ton of different bourbons. One that many people like, which is Old Forester. But today we're reviewing Woodford Reserve. So when you think of Woodford Reserve, you probably hear the name because anytime you go to any restaurant bar in America, more than likely they're going to carry Woodford Reserve. Well, they're more than likely not carrying this version. They're carrying the standard, the typical, regular Woodford Reserve bourbon, right? Very nice, good bourbon. You can count on it. Another different type of bourbon that Woodford Reserve makes is the double oaked. It means that it's truly double oaked. They age it for X number of years in American oak barrels. They take it out, put it into different barrels, age it again, and you get the double oaked version, right? You may or may not see this in some restaurants. This is a pretty decent bourbon as well. Some great, great tasty notes on that one. But back in 2006, so about 13 years ago, master distiller Chris Morris wanted to kind of change it up a little bit, right? So every year, every couple of years, Woodford Reserve came out with what's called a master's collection, and essentially they take their bourbon and they make 2 to 3 different types of versions, right? So typically the bourbon is aged, and it could be various different things. But in 2018, when I bought this version, they aged the different bourbons, and number one is they use like a sherry wood cask. That was version number 1. Version number 2 was the standard everyday bourbon. However, it was barrel proof, meaning that it was not cut with water. So very strong, very bold bourbon. I think the Masters Collection, the barrel proof was like 132 or 133, pretty strong. And then the third version they made, which is a version called the oat. So oat grain. So this is a 4-grain bourbon, and essentially they added oat to the as the 4th ingredient. They still use rye, but it's very, very little. And so that's the new ingredient that they use for 2018 in this version. All right. From a proof standpoint, when you're looking at this one is 90 proof. All right. It doesn't say the number of years that it's aged, but typically I would guess it's probably anywhere from 4 to 5 years, just from having this one before, at least 4 to 5 years. And then from a color standpoint, this one is really dark. This is like a very dark, extremely dark gold and dark brown, right? Beautiful color. From a nose perspective, ooh, very neat, very smooth. You smell the oats, right? That's the one thing that really kind of stands out. You definitely smell the oats. You don't smell the normal caramel, vanilla. You don't really smell a ton of that. The oats honestly kind of overpower the smell, but that's a good thing, right? Changes up a little bit. Everyone wants something different once in a while. From a price standpoint, you could buy this anywhere from $110 to $130. Honestly, it just kind of depends on where you live in the U.S. Or around the world. And then also from an availability standpoint, it's pretty easy to find. You may have to make at least 2 or 3 different trips to different liquor stores, but you should definitely be able to find it, relatively pretty easy. So let's go ahead and get into the tasting part, right? Everyone loves the tasting part. Very smooth, really nice, very crisp, very clean off the palate. One thing I like about this is because, it is a lower proof. So I will say if you're typically used to drinking your bourbon on the rocks, this is one where you should try to give it a chance. Drink the bourbon by itself, right? Drink it neat. Because it is the lower proof, it's not as bitey going down. It's very smooth. There's definitely, you taste the oats, you taste some vanilla and maybe a little bit of cinnamon, but it's very, very smooth. Let's go ahead and finish this off. This is really nice. It's a very nice, everyday, really good bourbon. A little bit higher price point, so maybe not something you would drink every day, but definitely something that I recommend, enjoying with some good friends over some good conversation, right? So at the end of the day, you have to say, Bourbon Judge, should I go out and buy this beautiful bottle of bourbon, right? I don't know. Should you? There's only one thing you really can do. Folks, the judgment's in. This is a buy. Obviously, Woodford Reserve, they're doing it right, right? I mean, seriously, this is a great bourbon for the money, something that I'll probably go out and buy another bottle as I get closer to finishing this. I highly recommend that you buy it as well. Until next week, folks, enjoy. Have a great week. See you then.